Hi, this is Janis Ian. I'm talking with Rabbi Sol Solomon on Dave's Gone By. We'll be talking about songs like At 17 and Society's Child, Grammy nominations, and my most current project, the life and autobiography of Miriam Teresa Winter.
Oh, I don't even remember what I learned at 17. I was in Gemara and the Tanakh, but people who are more worldly than I learn a bunch of other things, most of them not pleasant at that age. But what we all learned from a song called At 17 is how deep the teenage psyche can go. And who taught us that? A lady named Janis Ian, who has also written a bunch of other songs, including Jessie and Society's Child. She's had albums all the way from the mid-1960s through now. She's working on other projects, and she's done so many other things. And you can see her live Friday, September 19th at the Rubin Museum in New York. So please, will you welcome Shalom to Janis Ian. Shalom, Janis.
Shalom, Rabbi. How are you today?
Oh, thank God. I'm getting over a little bit of a head cold here. I think you are too, right?
I am.
Are you almost all better, or what?
I'm getting there. Soon.
Good. This is good. So first of all, what people may not know about you is that your original name, your family name, was Fink. What happened?
Well, it's a name given to us at Ellis Island, so I never felt any particular attachment to it. I chose my brother's middle name of Ian when I was about 12, so I've been Ian, almost 90% of my life.
So, but, it wasn't a big deal for you to change your last name, even at age 12?
It wasn't my last name. It was a name that somebody gave us at Ellis Island.
And did other children give you problems for having the name Fink?
No.
Oh, so it wasn't because you were made fun of or anything like that. You just felt...
No. I wanted my own name.
Okay, and were you writing songs by then already?
I started writing songs when I was 12. I got published for the first time at 13.
Good Lord. What was that first song that got published?
It was called Hair of Spun Gold.
What was it about?
It was about a young girl growing up too fast, very much in the folk tradition, same as the child ballads, very much modeled on that. And it wound up on my first album when I was 14.
Oh, my goodness. That's a... No, wait. You weren't 14 when Society's Child came out, were you?
We were 14. I was 15 when it was released.
Oh, my God. So, again, I know you've talked about this a lot of times, but having fame and success fast, too soon, the good parts, the bad parts.
Well, it's like anything else. I mean, you learn a lot from it, and you hopefully don't repeat the mistakes again.
Well, no, we are human, and we do tend to repeat our mistakes. Have you found yourself doing that?
I try to avoid it, especially as a writer. I try to learn from what I experience and what I write, and then just not do the same thing again unless it works. I think I'm like everybody else in that respect.
Now let me ask you what most people take from the famous song At 17, is just how difficult it is to be growing up, to be experiencing puberty, to be a little different, also trying to fit in. Were those years difficult for you?
Well, sure. I don't know of a culture where they're not difficult. It's a time of raging hormones and wretched excess in the body and the mind. So I think the reason the song struck such a chord and continues to strike that kind of chord is because it is so universal. As a writer, you hope that one day you'll touch a universal like that, and it will be heard by massive amounts of people. That song amazes me with its endurance. It's even well known in Japan, where people mouth the lyrics when I sing them and they don't even speak English. So it's pretty astonishing. I'm very proud of it.
You have that thing with Japan. It's like the Tom Waits line, you're big in Japan. What is it? It's not just that song. You have a big cult and bigger than cult following over there. How did that all come about?
They used a song of mine called Love is Blind in one of the first Japanese, they're called samurai soap operas, an ongoing dramatization of a samurai's life and his family. And it was the first Western song ever used that way, and it went to number one and stayed there for almost a year. Still holds the record, I'm pretty sure. And then that was followed by another big hit, and ever since then I've just been very lucky in that territory. I think there's a lot of commonality between my life as a Jew and the Japanese.
Well, please delve into that. How do you mean?
I think there's a certain patience required.
I haven't been patient any day of my whole life. How do you mean?
And a sense of history.
Well, history, yeah.
Required.
So in other words, patience with all the crap that goes on and trying to survive it and get through it. Is that what you mean?
And patience with the inner self as well. Patience with your own self, with your ability to make sense of the world, with your ability to relate to other people. There's a very high standard in both cultures of doing good and doing for the community. So I think there's all of that as a commonality. And beyond that, I've just always liked Japan.
Oh, okay. Now, getting back to the thing that I care about most, of course, the Jewishness. You, I guess, are you even culturally Jewish, or is it any kind of touchstone for you still? Were you ever religious?
Well, you'd have to define the religious. I don't know what that means.
Going the Shabbos, going on Yom Kippur, maybe eating kosher a little bit, feeling guilty. What?
Okay, would you like to talk? Because I'll wait.
I'm done with my question. That's what I am asking. When you asked me what religion means or what it is to be Jewish, and I am giving you examples that you can now extrapolate upon, if you please.
I would say I'm culturally Jewish and religious in the sense that I believe that there is a God.
Aha,
I believe that
okay.
we came from a wellspring. I observe Yom Kippur. I go to the synagogue, but I don't go to the synagogue every week, or the temple for that matter. So in that sense, I suppose you would say I'm not religious.
Well, if you go to Yom Kippur, that's more than a lot of Jews do, and you fast and do all that. So
I think it's good for the soul to fast now and then. It's good to remember what you're deprived of.
how do you envision God?
I wouldn't even go there. However,
Yeah.
I found it really interesting when I was narrating Miriam Teresa Winter's autobiography to watch her journey from envisioning her concept of God, which is Jesus as a white, blonde guy with a halo over his head, and how she journeyed from that concept to the concept that God is so large that to even refer to God by name limits it.
I think that is true. It's a force, a spirit, rather than this male-dominated idea of this old guy with a beard and Moses with horns and all that. But what is this Winters thing that you're referring to? What are you working on?
I just finished doing an audiobook of the life of a medical mission sister, a Roman Catholic nun named Miriam Teresa Winter. She's a very prolific songwriter. She filled Carnegie Hall in the 70s with her own songs and her choir. She's done a lot of great outreach work, places like Kenya, where she worked with emaciated children and their parents, places like Laos and Cambodia, where she ministered health, we're talking, not religion,
Okay.
to the Khmer Rouge as well as to the people that they had just tried to kill. She's currently Dean of Women's Studies at Hartford Seminary, and she's just a fascinating woman. You can read about her on my website in the current area. We've got a big front page thing because we're hoping to get a Grammy nomination.
So when you say you did the audiobook, you read the book, for people?
I read the book, I narrated the book is how you would say it, and
Okay.
then I also sang the songs that were in the book. There are 28 of those all told. 2 years ago I won a Grammy for narrating and singing my own autobiography. So hopefully the luck will hold. We'll see.
Now, in writing your own autobiography, Janis Ian, was it cathartic at all, or was it a slog, or a bit of both?
Oh, neither. I had a great time.
Oh, okay, good.
It was a terrific way to remember a lot of things that I hadn't thought about in years. It was a great year for me because I stayed home the entire year. I didn't get on an airplane once. I drove to 4 different shows, but they were all tributes. I did a tribute to Odetta where I hosted the evening and a couple of others for friends.
Did you know Odetta?
I did. We were very good friends.
Oh, what was she like off stage?
Just like she was on stage. She was great. She was an absolutely wonderful woman.
Okay. Because people like hearing about other stars and celebrities and what they're really like. Not just bad things, but good things, too. So you were also friends with a fellow named Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, I have found, Rabbi, that most of the people that I've met who are really great artists, great players, great singers, and I would include Odetta and Jimmy in that, are really wonderful people, too. I mean, Odetta taught me how to put on makeup. Jimmy used to let me sit in with him and play the organ when he played guitar.
Oh, my God. Did you ever appear uncredited on any album of his, any tracks?
No, we joke about it, his old engineer and I, and say that somewhere deep within the bowels of his archives, there's a very bad organist, probably me.
Well, hey, look, Al Cooper didn't think of himself as a good organist when he wound up on a couple of Bob Dylan albums, and he was irreplaceable. So, you never know.
Yes, you never know, but I pretty much know that I'm not going to be an organist.
But, not to be put too fine a point on it, but you apparently also did some drugs with Jimi Hendrix. How did you avoid going into the spiral that he hit?
Well, first of all, I was too young. Second of all, I was allergic to cocaine. So when we did drugs, it almost killed me, and I just never went near it again.
Any kind? I mean, or just cocaine, or did you stay away, mostly get clean from everything else?
Yeah, I did marijuana like everybody else did, but it was a very different marijuana than we have now. It was very lightweight. Just get a little buzz off of it, kind of like having half a glass of wine. Okay. Nowadays, drugs are completely different, or so I'm told. I haven't done them since my late teens. Oh,
because?
They're basically boring. Well, I think they're basically boring. And I never wanted to get near anything I might get addicted to, because I don't like pain, and I know I would have to be in pain to get unaddicted.
That's a very good... I wish you could explain it to all the people, now that marijuana is legal everywhere, that it does have some negative things about it, and some of the other drugs, too.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know enough about the marijuana nowadays to even think about that. I have no idea.
Okay, that's...
In terms of stuff like heroin and methadone and the other opiates, I was just always scared that they would addict me and that they would change my brain. And since my brain is how I make my living...
That's right.
It would be a really crappy thing for me.
But again, another person that you knew back in the 60s, again, let drugs get to them. I guess they're an object lesson. What was Janis Joplin like, the other Janis?
Funny. Just funny and self-effacing and shy and a good buddy. We used to go shopping together.
Oh, my goodness.
Got my first Grammy dress together. He was great.
Oh. Was it an incredible shock when these people started dying off that you physically knew?
Yeah, it's always a shock when someone you know dies, I think. And because of the circumstance of my life, when a lot of the people that I knew when I was younger or even when I was older are famous, it's even more of a shock because I think for weeks you're reading about it and looking at it in the newspapers. And when Chet Atkins died, his family called me, which was really wonderful of them. And then I was on tour and I was reading about it for weeks. It was the same when Pete died, Pete Seeger. I mean, I called Arlo Guthrie to make sure he knew, and then we spent the rest of the time listening to the radio broadcasts. So it's a mixed blessing because you get to revisit their lives, but on the other hand, they're public figures, and a lot of the time I think people aren't allowed to mourn because of that.
Well, speaking of mourning, you also had a very interesting and close relationship with your mom, who underwent something pretty heavy, but made silver lining, made lemonade out of it to some extent. Why don't you tell what happened?
My mother came from a generation of women who weren't supposed to go to college because the men went to college. So she never got to go. She helped put my uncle through, and she put my dad through, and helped put my brother through. But she never got to go, and she always felt like she was a little stupid because of that. So she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis when I was in my 20s, and it became really clear that she wouldn't be able to work much longer. She, of course, became hugely depressed. And my brother and I were looking for a way to give her hope. And we found a college, Goddard, in Plainfield, Vermont, that was one of the first schools to allow what they now call returning students, or older people, to go back to college and only be on campus 1 week a semester so they could continue their regular jobs otherwise.
And this was before the whole online coursework thing that is so prevalent now. This is, most people had to be there.
I mean, this was 1978, 79.
Yeah, okay.
And we sent her to college, and it took her 14 years, and she got her bachelor's degree. And then she went on for her master's degree, and I think that that's what kept her alive in large part, because she was so proud of that. When she died, my partner and I formed a foundation, the Pearl Foundation, named after her, and all of my merchandise money goes there, and we get donations from fans and friends, and I do living room concerts where I sing in someone's living room, and 100% of the fee goes to the foundation. And as of January 1st of this year, we have given away $750,000 in college scholarships.
Mazel
It's a great thing.
That's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And speaking of wonderful things, Mazel Tov on the fact that you have a partner. You're also officially married?
We are married. We got married officially in 2003 in Toronto when it became...
Well, the Canadians move so much faster than we do, I gotta tell you.
Well, in some things, yeah.
So, was that a huge, being able to get married, was that a big emotional, psychological leap for you?
It was a big deal because, well, in one sense, yes, in one sense, no. We've been together since 1989, so in our minds, this is our 25th year together. It was a big deal because we never thought in our lifetimes that it would happen, and also because we felt it was really important that people like myself who had a public face step forward and say, this is natural, this is normal, this is what is supposed to happen.
Right.
And we would like to have the same rights everyone else has. It's been very encouraging to watch the United States, state by state, begin to agree with that. Now, the converse is we live in Tennessee where we are not recognized, and we still have to carry health care proxies, and we still have to carry all kinds of letters of permission and powers of attorney just in case. That's the bad part of it. But I have every confidence that it will change, and in my lifetime.
And you choose to live in the South because it's close to Nashville?
Oh, I live in Nashville, and I choose to live in Nashville because I think it's the best place for a songwriter.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, but you're a songwriter for yourself, mostly. You're not out there churning hits for Dolly Parton and people like that. So you could probably do what you do other places.
I probably could, except that there are a lot of songwriters here. So I have a community of songwriters.
Do you
That's something I'm not really going to find anywhere but maybe 4 or 5 cities. And I really would rather not live in L.A. or New York.
Oh, I don't blame you for that. I got the hell out of New York whenever I can. But do you co-write? Do you mostly do all your songs still yourself?
I do both. I've had some pretty good success co-writing. I've had cuts by Bette Midler and John Mellencamp on co-writes, and then I've had cuts by Bette Midler and other people without co-writing. So co-writing, I think, is a good thing if you're open to it, because it lets you turn a corner to what you would normally do, and it wakes up a different part of your creativity, if that makes sense.
And have you done in co-writing situations where each person took their, like, you're not always the lyricist. Sometimes you're the composer, they're the lyricist, or...
Yeah, most of the people I co-write with do both, just like I do. So it's pretty much whoever thinks of the best idea, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any favorite cover versions of your songs?
I love Celine Dion's version of that 17. I thought that was just brilliant.
Wow. Okay. Any others?
Wow, you know, there's a lot. I like John Mellencamp's version of To the River. I love Diane Shore's version of Hearts Take Time. Mel Torme did an amazing job on Stars.
Mel Torme, my goodness.
Yeah.
I love the eclecticism of your choices.
Well, I've been very fortunate that I came up at a time when people were still singing other people's songs a lot. Joan Baez has done great versions of several of my songs.
Jessie, of course, yes.
Yes, did a great version of Jessie. She certainly did.
Wow. And can I ask also for Janis Ian, a song or two that of yours that you wish people knew, that were playing on the radio, that were as known as At 17, Society's Child, Jessie, blah, blah, blah?
You mean songs I wish had been hits?
Yeah. Songs you think deserved to be not just hits, not just, famous, but that people took to heart and heard and liked and cared about.
Oh, really? There's only one. There's a song called I'm Still Standing, and I haven't released it yet, really. It's just available on a CD we sell at shows, although it's up on iTunes now. That's about the only one. You know, I think that, and this goes back to the Japan connection, too, and the Jewish connection. There's a point of acceptance where you say water finds its own level. And I think one thing the years have taught me is that very often when something is meant to be, it happens. You know, it's b'sheret.
Oh, b'sheret, I love that, yes.
And when it's not meant to be, pushing on that river isn't going to make it run any faster.
True, but and that also brings us to something that you have coped with over your years of dealing with depression. Do you still ever, or it hasn't been years, you don't worry about it, nothing?
Well, I was depressed when I was a kid, but I think that's pretty normal when you're 16 or 17.
Well, there's depression and then there's clinical. I mean, you know, everybody's depressed, but, you know, Robin Williams depressed is something else.
Well, I am fortunate in that I only felt like that a few times in my life, and I had really good therapy, and fortunately for me, responded to it as well, because something like that is a tragedy.
Oh, of course.
And again, I count myself very lucky that that's not something I've had to struggle with.
Thank God. Thank God. That's what I'm saying. So things, you know, you've got this wonderful marriage, this partnership. You're working on the audio books. Are you working on a new album, Janis Ian?
No, I've got an album called Strictly Solo that we're selling only on tour. I'm doing a lot of tour dates this fall, and then next year with Tom Paxton.
Oh,
I may open it up. We do a white sale in January to raise money for the foundation, so I may open it up to that. But otherwise, right now, I'm talking with one of the major labels about re-releasing all my old catalog and trying not to move faster than my brain can follow.
Is it Verve, or who's going to do the...
I'd rather not go into it.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No, you don't have to. Just make sure that it's available on your website, which is...
www.janisian.com.
www.janisian.com. Last question for Janis Ian, and thank you for taking the time with us today. What if someone were going out there, wanted to be a singer-songwriter, young kid, 12, 13, 14, 15, any advice?
Oh, gosh. Trust your instincts. Trust your own instincts. You know, I think I look at somebody like Taylor Swift, who I have a lot of admiration for, and she's always trusted her instincts. She's surrounded herself with good advisors, but at the end of the day, she understands that it's her face on the cover and her voice on the radio, and she stays true to that.
That's, I think, a wonderful piece of advice, and lovely talking to Janis Ian. Go see her, by the way, at the Rubin Museum. This is on Friday, September 9th. Oh, it's Spend Shabbos with Janis Ian. It's b'sheret.
Well, you can also spend Saturday with me at the Sanctuary Concerts in Chatham, and you can certainly spend Sunday with me in Ridgefield, Connecticut, which should be a great show because Marian Teresa Winter is coming to that.
Oh, that's the woman whose book you read, and you were telling about the nun and all of that. So, yes.
That's right, yeah.
A very busy weekend with Janis Ian. We thank her, Toda Rabbah, very much for being with us in the neighborhood.
Shalom, Rabbi.
Shalom. Thank you.